So today we're going to talk about from skin to brain, the science of the super patch. And this technology has been 15 years in the making of research and development, iterative processes. There has been an incredible product roadmap that's gotten us to today, and we're going to talk about all of that, but we're really going to talk about the underlying science, the underlying theories and mechanisms that allow us to have such a profound technology. So there's some premises that I think make a lot of sense that we all as healthcare providers and professionals will understand, that optimal neurology is a primary requirement for optimal health, right? Our body functions at optimum efficiency when the networks managing our body and mind are in balance. And the autonomic system is a part of that peripheral nervous system responsible for regulating all of those things that we don't think about, right? So we don't think about walking, we don't think about standing, we don't think about breathing, we don't think about consciously managing our pain. And all of these things happen through a very complex communication loop, neural networks that regulate the different various processes without actually thinking about them. Unfortunately, genetics, injury, illness, drugs, stress, and other trauma factors compromise this system, and misalignment within the communication of the neural networks can trigger dysregulation of physiological, emotional, and psychological function. So what does this mean? So in the big scheme of things, our neurology controls everything, right? So every physical, biological, chemical, emotional, psychological function in our body has a neurological regulation to it. There's a neurological control, a neurological, call it a program that regulates all those different things in our physiology. And if we look at the pyramid of our physiology, we have the biophysics, the ambulatory, our limbs, all those things that involve movement, standing posture. Above that is our biology. Above that is our biochemistry. And above all of it is our central nervous system, our neurology. And our CNS can impact all three of those things at the same time or independently. And there's usually a cascade of wellness. If the CNS and our mind is working, if healthy neurology, we're going to see a cascade of wellness. If there's something off in our CNS, something off in our neurology, we're going to see a cascade of problems, right? And I think we've all seen that as healthcare providers, where one thing leads to another thing, leads to another thing, and then all of a sudden somebody's in bed and they can't get out. But I think these are all table stakes of us understanding what makes our technology and what makes the science so profound, right? So how does our neurology impact our health? Optimal neurology equals optimal function. So when our neurology is optimized, when it's operating its best possible level, whatever that level is for each individual, we're gonna have a pain-free life. We're gonna have more energy. We're gonna have the best possible sleep. We're gonna have better mobility, more vitality, more strength. We're gonna have better posture and stability. Cognitive performance is gonna be optimal. We're gonna have a less stressful experience during the day. Our mood's going to be better, and our metabolism, among other things, is going to be optimized. When our neurology is not functioning optimally, we're gonna feel it, and we're gonna see it, right? We're gonna have aches and pains. We're gonna have low energy. We're gonna wake up tired because we didn't sleep well. Mobility is going to be challenged. We might even have neuropathy issues. Recovery from illness, recovery from injury is going to be compromised. We're going to absorb that stress, that oxidative, that horrible thing that it does to our body. We're going to see cognitive decline, whether it's memory, whether it's recall, whether it's, executive function, decision making. Metabolism gets compromised. Mood and anxiety obviously become impairing factors in a quality of life, right? So we want to get to the green. We want to get out of the orange and the red. We want to have a vital, healthy neurology, right? And so then the question is, so great, we want a healthy neurology, we want a healthy mind, we want great operation of our central nervous system. Then the question begs, well, what is neurology? What is optimal neurology? How do you measure it, right? How do you identify it? And how do you help it? So these are all the questions that we were asking in 2009 and 2010, and since we started, R&D. Okay, so how do we get to what's healthy, what's optimal? because we got to be able to identify where it's a level set and where to get to, right? So we took some unique approaches to solving that problem. So measuring optimal neurology. So the gold standard for normative EEG is the Loretta database in the University of Zurich. It's managed by the Key Institute, and it's a database of over 200,000 EEG readings from age 2 to 85. Okay, now that's a lot of data. Okay, and this is the data that's used to investigate neural networks, to come to an understanding of how are those neural networks organized, how are they developing, how are they out of this regular function, and really it's the backbone of EEG studies and biofeedback research. Okay, this is where they go to understand the function of our mind as a normative database, and we've been using and studying the data here going on to 15 years now. So we reached out to them and at the very beginning of our journey because I wanted to understand what causes neurological dysfunction and how do you control that communication. So what is obvious to us, and I think obvious to everybody in this call, is that the language of our mind is brain waves. Alpha, beta, delta, theta, gamma. That's how our mind communicates with itself internally, with the different networks that exist. And that's how it sends information from the central nervous system through its peripheral nervous system, through action potentials and neural signals. And that was the question that I was asking of leading scientists and neuroscientists of, okay, because of my mom's MS condition, so talk to me about these signals. They're saying that, well, because of demyelination, the neural signal isn't getting through. And my question is, well, what's the neural signal, right? You keep saying that, oh, you know, the water's not getting through the pipes. Well, talk to me about the water. Talk to me about that information. And what became abundantly clear was that in 2009, 2010, 2008, our understanding, the world's understanding, science's understanding of the neural code was very rudimentary. We knew something was happening, and then we could see the brain waves, but it wasn't clear enough in terms of actually how the communication happened and what was the actual bits and bytes of that information. But we knew the data was there, so we had the data to start working on it. And what did we do from that point? So our approach to understanding, so we developed some proprietary algorithmic analysis tools. So basically, I'm a geek. I was in I'm a software engineer by education, by training. I worked in encryption and security software for a long period of time. And over a period of time, I was able to write code. I was able to write programs, machine learning tools that allowed me to apply analysis to this metadata, to this massive sets of data that were sitting inside the Loretta database, because the software program that they provided allowed for some rudimentary imaging, identification. What it didn't allow was for me to understand the regulatory processes, right? The process actually control those very critical health and wellness functions that we take for granted every day. So this approach and development process revealed some remarkable understandings and proprietary breakthroughs since then. So over time, we've had some incredible breakthroughs of our understanding of how that works. So the first breakthrough to a solution. So, you know, when we take a look at our neurology, I think we'll all agree that it is the most complex thing that we know. Our neurology is actually more complex than the cosmos. So, you know, the James Webb Telescope is out there and it's looking at the cosmos and the beginning of time and all these different things. I will argue that our neurology is infinitely more complex, and our mind is infinitely more complex than the cosmos out there. There's more going on in here than there's going on out there, right? So scientists and data scientists at MIT wanted to map the connectivity of our mind and the different networks. And they have supercomputers, and they started topographically, algebraically mapping the different connectivity between the different neural networks. And they reached 11 dimensions of connectivity. Now, everybody on this call, I believe, we probably operate on 3 dimensions. There might be 1 or 2 that might have reached a higher level of development, but for the rest of us mortals, we operate on 3 dimensions. Our mind, what we can show through scientific topography mapping, is operating at 11 dimensions of connectivity. That just gives you an idea of how powerful it is. And it's doing this instantly all the time from the minute that we're born. Probably before we're born, but we only measure it after we're born. And so what I was looking for was a neurodevelopment sequence. So the theory was this. we go from a neural groove, a microscopic thing, and we develop it in the most complex thing that we know, which is our neurology. This happens in 9 months. So my theory was there's got to be a development sequence. There needs to be a blueprint of this development, right? The neurology is developing. It's telling itself what needs to happen. The neural groove becomes our brainstem. The brainstem becomes central nervous system. The spinal column pops out. And all this amazing neurology in peripheral nervous system completely develops in 9 months. There has to be a blueprint. And that blueprint's going to be expressed, has to be expressed as brainwaves because that's the language of the mind. So I was looking for this development sequence, right? And over a period of 3 years, we finished the coding. In another 3 years, we were able to find the neurodevelopment sequence that I believe leads to the development of these different autonomic functions that we take for advantage. So this is proprietary information. This took years and years to find and develop and to fine tune. We don't share this information because this really is the core understanding and intellectual property that we have. So, but that wasn't enough. So once we understand that we have this blueprint, this development sequence, we have to agree that there needs to be a regulatory process that controls that blueprint. It's like having a blueprint for a house. Great, we got a blueprint for a house. We also need a site supervisor to make sure that's being built the correct way. Our neurology might, and this is all thinking like an engineer, that, yeah, we have this code is doing a bunch of calculations, but there needs to be a checksum to make sure those calculations are happening correctly. And that's what the next development was, the next breakthrough was a neuroregulatory process that if there's these development sequences, there also need to be regulatory processes that govern the development of these sequences. And we were able to decipher and decode these processes as a set of complex neurosignals. Again, another few years of development and R&D over the last, not few years, 12 years, to develop these and to deduce these different regulatory processes for things like pain management, sleep management, mobility, vestibular response, stress management. All of these have neuroregulatory processes that we've deduced that are set of very complex sine waves that we've deduced that regulate these different processes. And this is because of the software that we've developed. This is because of the R&D that we've developed. And this is because of the measuring and the evaluation that we can do with generally accepted products out there. So when we measure this change and we measure these things, we're using, number one, the data that's already there. But when we measure it against new data, we have this comparative that shows us the changes that we're making. So we use FDA registered EEG sets. We use FDA registered software to prove our concepts. So how do we fix it? So remember we talked about at the beginning that these programs, these neural networks get stuck, compromised, damaged. And the reality is, so how do we assist those? How do we correct them and get them back to factory reset? How do we get them back to operating at a normal function or an optimal function, right? And the best way to do that, to correct neural signals, would be generate a non-invasive process that could greatly compensate those dysregulated signals, right? So remember, these are just waves. And if we want to influence waves, we have to rely on interference, wave interference. It's just interference math. You have constructive interference and you have destructive interference. Constructive interference is when you can introduce a new signal to a previous signal, just waves, that'll help correct or amplify its function. A destructive signal is one that comes in and actually flatlines and it makes it zero. So we want to know, how do we affect and correct those complex signals and get them back to normal function? And the best way that we figured out was to generate compensatory signals to do that. So how do we do that? What options do we have? So how do you generate compensatory signals to our body? We can send electrical shock through our system. Hopefully that might do something. It's quite painful. There's new developments of transcranial stimulation. Many of you might have seen that, where they put a headset on your head and they're blasting frequencies into our cranium, hoping to reset something. There's neurofeedback technologies where you're watching things and the information is coming through your mind and you're doing different activities, trying to retrain and trigger neuroplasticity. There's invasive processes where, neural implants are planted into our body, into our spine, into our skull, or into our vagus nerve to stimulate to get a response. But the reality is our body is already receiving tons of information through our peripheral nervous system without any extra energy. So our eyes are receiving information, right, photons of light are coming in, and magically our neurology, our mind is organizing those photons into images, and it's stereophonically, coordinating the sound that's coming together. I mean, we're already doing some magical things with our sight and our sound, but there's an immense amount of information also coming through our skin. Our skin is number one of the largest organs in our body. It used to be the largest organ. Now they found another set of fascia underneath our skin, which actually connects all of our different organs together. Now that is the largest organ that they decided. But the skin is pretty pervasive in terms of sending information to our mind. And that's what we looked at in terms of how do we send signals to our mind. So, our goal was, can we do that? Can we send that signal to our mind? And there is a ton of research out there that says that haptic perception, vibrotactile stimulation, would reduce the flight or fight sympathetic response when it isn't needed, allowing the body to rapidly restore to its natural homeostasis or balance, right? And so what's great is, Susan, at the end of this presentation, I'm going to send you this deck, and it's got all the research reference at the back, so everything that I say. So for all of us keeners out there that like to read it, you guys can have a blast. It makes for a wonderful weekend of reading those 67 research papers. But what it does is that these are things that we might or might not know, we can take for granted. But this research already says that, hey, skin stimulation can really affect our neurology, right? So this is what we started evaluating and started looking at. And so there's a couple of things that we're harnessing. We're harnessing sensation, we're harnessing perception. And research has expanded on this idea of haptic perception and proposed a more extensive theory called the pattern theory of haptic perception. This theory explains how the brain interprets information from the entire somatosensory system as a whole. So it says that when we feel a sensation on our skin through a specific pattern of nerves that are activated, it's eventually decoded by the brain. So basically, it's proposing that the different skin cells, the different free nerve endings, the different receptors can collaboratively generate very complex signals that are interpreted by our mind. And this theory was first hypothesized as a study on pain and itch perception, but it's expanded beyond that our brain can actually recognize very specific patterns and combinations of receptors, and that there are no unique or specific circuits for any distinct sensation. So in English, what that means is our mind will recognize any sensation once it's perceived it, no matter where it is specifically on the body. So in layman's terms, if somebody pinched you on your hand, on your arm, you would also feel the same sensation if somebody pinched you on your back. At a higher level, if we were all in the room, we did an experiment, Susan, you and I have talked about before. If we were sitting side by side and I said, hey, listen, close your eyes for a minute and put out your hand. And I drew the number 8 on your hand and I asked you what I drew on your hand, you say, well, you drew the number 8. Now think about that. Somehow your skin was able to perceive that slightest touch and send the neurosignal for the number 8 to your mind. And your mind will recognize that 8. It would say, oh, that's the number 8. This is what it is. And all the relationships we have with that number. Doesn't matter what we drew. It could be 4, it could be 3, it could be A, it could be B, it could be whatever. And our skin will be able to coordinate that information, send it instantly to our mind to recognize it, right? Just like if your eyes were still closed and I put this pen in your hand and I say, what's that? You'd say it's a pen. So our skin's ability to send complex signals to our mind, which can recall, decode, interpret it, is unlimited. What we're sending with our patches, so here we have our patch. So I'm going to pull this up the screen. So with our patch, we see those ridges on it, okay? Those ridges are very precise. And when they come in contact with our skin, they're also, instead of the number 8, they're sending this signal. This signal is already pre-programmed in our mind, okay? Because our pain regulation is already pre-programmed. It's the same for all of us. And so all we're doing is reproducing the normative signal that we need for optimal pain performance. If this was the pain patch, this is the defend pad, actually. So that's what we're doing. We are restoring the normative neurological function through skin sensation. And it's not our science that's saying it. This is science that's Nobel Prize winning stuff. So let me get to that. So what we did is we hacked and harnessed haptic perception. And so we used neural decoding of the human haptic response. So first we figured out what the code needed to be, what the signals needed to be. Then we figured out how to send those signals through our skin. And what's really interesting is in 2001, Dr. Papatoupian and Dr. Julius won the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine for actually discovering the exact transducers in our skin that generate the action potential, right? They actually found the exact mechanism of action that generates the different signals. We always knew that these different cells and free nerve cells were actually generating a signal, but we didn't know the exact mechanism of action. So the exact mechanism of action are these transducers called piezo 1 and piezo 2, which play an amazing role in not just sending signals, but overall health and wellness. And the research is still ongoing, that through touch, we can send very complex signals to our mind. So this was a breakthrough. This gave us even more clarity of how to channel and organize our products to deliver more efficacy. This is why we went from possibly having 2 or 3 patches to having 11 and more on their way, because we can actually really precisely build some very complex patterns and complex stimulation responses. So that's wonderful. And so what's our innovation? Our innovation is real simple. Every bodily function has a neural code, including breathing, walking, balance, pain management, stress, sleep. I mean, you name it, there's a neural code that controls it. These codes get damaged or stuck for a million reasons, right? It leads to poor health, poor wellness, poor performance. The ridges on the patches are like QR codes that help repair those neural codes, allowing our body to operate at our mind and body to operate at the highest level. All of the patches will have a unique braille pattern on there. So what we've developed is braille for the brain. Each patch triggers a different response on our skin that's interpreted by our mind, which corrects compromised signals. As soon as those compromised signals are repaired and restored, we started seeing an immediate cascade of benefits. And because there's no ingestion involved, because there's no delayed involved, because our neurological system operates almost at the speed of light, the response is immediate. This isn't try it for 30 days, you're going to feel something. You're going to feel the benefits very quickly. So what does it mean? So we call our technology vibrotactile trigger technology. And so here's our mind. So this is actually an image from a brain mapping tool that we have. You put the EEG set on, you look at the, so here's a brain that's having some neurological dysfunction. It's hyperactive. It's hypo in some other place, but mostly it's hyper. It's outside normative operation. We put the patch on. This is with the Liberty patch. We put the patch on, and we see overall neurological homeostasis. Reset that mind in seconds. This is not days. This is seconds, right? And we know that neurological homeostasis is going to lead to physiological homeostasis. So this is why this is so important. And this is why this is so powerful, because we finally have a tool that can start at the top of our wellness, which is our neurology, and then work down. We have a top-down solution that can impact our biology, chemistry, and physiology. Simple. People say, how does it work? It's great. You take a patch, it triggers a response, it affects our body and the central nervous system, and then we feel the difference. What we've been able to do is take a very complex and very profound science and make it into an elegant solution that's drug-free, that's safe, doesn't have side effects, it's easy to use, that's friendly, that's affordable, right? So those are all the key things. And what we've done to validate all of these claims is we've done a number of studies and more on the way that validate the efficacy of our technology, because as healthcare practitioners, we understand that we need to be able to validate the claims that we make, right? So this isn't saying, hey, trust me. This is like, we've done the work, we've invested in the R&D, we've invested in the proof of it and the validation of it. So we can say we have improved power and strength. We can say we have improved balance stability. We can say we have improved pain and discomfort management. We have improved neural wellness. We have improved sleep. We have improved cognitive performance. We can say all these things because we've done the work and done the science and done the research to validate the claims that we make, which gives us an undeniable opportunity and unassailable advantage in the world of marketing, right? Because we've spent 12, 15 years making the best possible product. To make it the best known, these are table stakes. These are things that need to exist of validation, proof, right? Because we all know that healthcare practitioners are not going to recommend a product that they can't say, hey, by the way, the study's been done, it's safe, it's valid, and it's registered, right? And so what is that? Why is that important? So these are just some fun facts. You know, our Liberty Patch is a $1 million patch that can help anyone live longer. So studies show that the Liberty Patch technology improves strength and balance. Enhanced balance and grip strength are recognized as biomarkers for longer living. They're actual proven biomarkers for longevity. So Liberty Patch really is a new frontier in the battle for vitality, energy, and longevity. Live longer and healthier now and reverse aging with Liberty Patch. So this is what happens. You put the Liberty Patch on, our balance stability improves by 31%, and our grip strength improves from 10 to 20%. Instantly, in seconds, not a week, not a month, not a year later. No, you don't have to change your nutrition, you don't have to change your diet, you don't have to change anything. Your lifestyle, immediately your biological age reduces. Nothing in the world does this. And it's validated, it's proven, you can test it yourself, and you can share that with anyone in the world, right? So what separates us as a product? What separates us as a company? 100% drug-free, immediate proven benefits, million happy customers, FDA registered, clinical proof, 30-day money-back guarantee, made right in the United States of America, 95% positive user rating. It was like 95%. I've got news flash. Nothing's 100%, right? There will always be some people that don't get a response, and it's unfortunate. But thankfully, they're not going to be hurt because they just did something or it's not a reversible thing. Just peel it off. It's real easy to reverse whatever they don't want to do. And this is what separates us. So we've got solutions for pain, for sleep, for energy, for stress, for mobility, for athletic performance, for metabolic response. Every single patch from an economic model is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions, if not billions of people that need that solution, right? So, and they're easy to use, they're easy to recommend, they're easy to store, they don't expire. So we don't get into a challenge of saying, oh, you know what, if I don't eat these vitamins, they're going to expire. We don't have that case. Right? They're easy to ship, they're easy to transport. If we have clinics, they're easy to store. They don't take up a lot of space to have a super patch corner. A lot of people are getting these little spinorama things. They put all the patches on. It looks pretty cool in their clinics because they can show them the product, they can show them what it does, and it's really like Christmas. Here's all the different references. But Susan, I'll make sure you get a copy of this for you as well as you, Sterling, and then you're more than happy to share that with your colleagues and different things. I'm going to stop right there. And so that's what separates us from everything else in the world. It's the validation, it's the science, it's the years of R&D, and it's the regulatory check marks. And I know we're not all big fans of regulatory, but the reality is if we stay within the guardrails, we can help more people, right? Because we don't, speed bumps just get in the way. And that's what separates this opportunity from any other opportunity out there from a product standpoint. What we need to do now to help reach as many people as possible is have the right people, the right team together so we can share it, educate, and help as many people as possible. So I will turn this over back to you, Susan, and we'll go from there.
Excellent. You did. I mean, this was wonderful. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for, you know, I love the fact that it's detailed. You know, you can always simplify it later, but to have actually all the science there was a big, you know, boost to us. Thank you very much.
It just makes your life easier, right? Because then if you can say it in your own words, you can simplify it. That document, that presentation is made for healthcare practitioners. I presented that at neuroscience conferences. I presented that at national athletic conferences, at Pain Week. Actually, it's so interesting. Our pain patch study is going to be at Pain Week in September. Our poster got approved. I believe Dr. Jeff Gooden's going to be there presenting the findings on it. So the word is getting out there in the larger general medical community as well. But they're usually slow on the uptake unless Big Pharma gave them a pill. So we'll keep fighting the good fight. We'll get the information out to our peeps and our friends and our families, so we can help them in the best possible way.
This is wonderful. Thank you. I think there's some questions that
Sure.
in the chat. Let me just.
So I'm going to go right from the top down. There's not that many. Amber asks, curious about timing. How long did it take to work? How far ahead of time for the athletic performance? It's instant. The athletic performance is instant. The liberty is instant. The patches start working immediately. The benefit might, so for example, on the sleep thing, I always tell people, hey, put it on an hour before you want to go to bed, right? And you're going to see that in time, you're going to start to fall asleep sooner than regular, and you're going to sleep longer than regular. How do you determine Gail of guy? Well, how I see that, Gail, is a 15-year journey that's taken up a large portion of my life. And it's very proprietary. Those software programs and investigative tools and machine learning software that I've developed are the backbone of our R&D that we don't share, right? That would be foolish to let the world see how we're our approach to determining that. Okay. Yes, we are. 11 dimensions, 11 patches. Actually, Susan, that's a good comment. We got way more patches coming on. So 11 dimensions is actually not 11 patches. 11 dimensions means an infinite number of possibilities. I'm absolutely convinced that in time, we will be able to deduce patches for so many different things, right? That'll be mind-blowing. And but a step by step by step. Each patch lasts 24 hours. Sometimes it lasts 25 hours. But we say the last 24 hours because I know that it lasts at least 24 hours. And so you want to change it every day. So if someone is part of that 5%, does that mean not one of the, no, that means 5% of people might not get benefit out of the pain patch. 5% of the people might not get a benefit out of the sleep patch. 5% of people might not get, but I'll tell you one thing. 100% of the people see improvements in balance, stability, and strength with our Liberty patch and our Victory patch. 100%. I've been doing this a long time. Okay. Now, if they're trying to solve some complex physiological condition or some disease, I stay away from that. I don't promise cures, right? Because that's just a slippery slope that we're going to get in problem with. What we're helping is restore their physiology so they can cope and overcome all these different things. Does this replace supplementation? No, this improves your supplementation. Okay, this allows your body to maximize the nutrition that you're taking in. Right, healthy neurology, healthy biochemistry, healthy biology. Healthy. So our metabolism improves, our digestive system improves, our absorption rates improve. Everything improves when we have that healthy homeostasis. I have been asked if there's any surveillance issues or AI. Don't know what that means, but okay. So I'll tell you this, guys. Everything's surveilled all the time. Okay, there's no such thing as free. There is no thing as secrecy anymore. I mean, that's just how I operate, right? I just assume that Big Brother is watching everything all the time.
Jay, I think they were asking: is there any kind of anything in the patch that gets data, surveils, any kind of AI stuff? I think that's the question.
No, there's no electricity in here. There's no circuits in here. There's no batteries in here, right? This is just it's tape. It's biomedical tape made by 3M, and it's got ridges on it that have been embedded into it. There's no active ingredient, and there's no electrical components in here, right? This isn't doing any thinking. Your mind and your body is doing all the work, right? This is just a tool, a dumb tool. What happens to the toxic substances that may have caused the damage in the first place? So those could be anything, right? I mean, if somebody had a concussion that caused them issues, then we can see a neuroplastic response happening where their concussive damage starts to repair itself, right? But if somebody's ingested a horrible substance that's compromising their health, then they should proceed to eliminate those things from their life and from their body through either through detox or therapy or different things, right? This is not a crutch. Okay, this is not a crutch. This is the ladder. This helps people find their optimal health and wellness. It's not addictive. It's not habit forming. It's none of those things, right? It's a restorative process that allows us to reach how we're supposed to be. That's why it's outside of habituation. People are like, well, will I get used to the one patch and I need two patches? No. Okay? No. I'll tell you why. Because we're not adding extra energy to the body. It's when we add extra things to our body, whether it's a chemical, whether it's energy, whether it's electricity, or it's an extra frequency, our body will habituate. What we're doing is restoring to factory reset. So there's no habituation to factory reset. So I have one light that turns the lights on in this room. If I turn the lights on in the room, the lights are on. I don't need another switch to turn on those lights. It's always the same switch, right? And that's what we want to do. Some people have a reaction. Some people are allergic to the adhesive, Susan. I suggest they try different parts of their body that might be less sensitive. Blue Brain Project, yes, very familiar with the Blue Brain Project. So the adhesive, the glue is a biosensitive glue that's been put through testing, all the testing that 3M would do to make it an FDA cleared and approved adhesive. This is a medical grade surgical level adhesive, right? Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for that reaction. There's going to be some people that do that. So the ridges placed on the tape, yeah, it's a proprietary process, Amanda, that we don't really share our manufacturing process. What patch should be used? A person with TBI? I would suggest use the Flow patch and the Liberty patch. Not gotten better over 3 years. Yeah, TBI untreated is going to become cemented and fixed, right? You need a reset of that restorative process. So Liberty patch, Flow patch. What I would suggest is go get a brain map done, so you get a baseline, whoever this person is, right? That you know, and see where your baseline neurology is right now. They're going to identify all the trauma areas of the mind. I'm sure they might have already done it. Where are the patches for 30 days? Go get another brain scan. You're going to see, take my word for it, minimum 30 to 40% improvement in their neurological function and their neurological brain scans. We've done this 1,000 times, right? And so that's what I would recommend. Yeah, there you go, Sterling. Sterling had the same experience that I'm talking about. So yeah. So I'm so glad you guys could participate in today's chat.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because I think this is going to be the biggest objection is that alert adhesive. I found someone actually commented. I had 2 people of my whole team that came to me. One of them actually put it on her forearm, but the other places in her body didn't react. So I basically said, if you're sensitive, put it somewhere else, like the upper arm. I mean, look, I've got literally, I have 8 patches on.
You got me doubled up. I only got 4.
I actually have them around my arm, like,
yeah.
So it's these are amazing because I usually get stressed up and I almost paralyzed by stress, and this has been the most amazing thing. Flying, I organized my house. I put Liberty, Flow, Defend because of things I'm cleaning like cat litter. Let's see, Focus, Joy, okay, and Liberty for energy to do all that stuff. And I reorganized a whole room. Then I got on a plane and flew across the country on 1 hour of sleep. And then when I was, and then when things fall like really like, oh my gosh, disaster, no internet, and then I'm like, okay, made it happen, figured it out. I have to say the patches were extremely successful and able to manage like something I don't think I would have been able to do in the past without the patches. It changed my life. My friend Sterling,
we're seeing so many of those stories, Susan.
My friend Sterling, she was going to palliative care for the pain. she was, you know, and she can explain her story better, but I mean, she had blood flow. She'd had 11, 12 sticks to get her blood drawn. And first stick, she had 14 tubes of blood when she went in, you know, with Liberty Flow and Defend. So, I mean, there's so many people who can't get their blood drawn, you know, and she actually had symptoms like similar to MS symptoms, dropping things and falling. She twisted her ankle. Well, why don't you talk about it, Sterling? Because I don't want to interrupt your story.
I have my mom, her 3 sisters, 4 of my cousins had MS. My grandfather had ALS, and my body was been starting to reject actually antioxidants, which is a sign of ALS, right? Not MS. I already know about everybody with MS and ALS are severely B1 fatty deficient on the brain. You can't do a regular B1 test. I'm going down that rabbit hole. That's helped a lot, but it didn't help all the way because that can take years to get that B1 fatty B1 back on the brain. But the thing is, and there's 3 types, but the thing is, when I started doing these patches, one day I decided not to wear them because I was going to run do the eyebrows, go get a tan, you know, all that stuff. Didn't want to waste the patch.
It was for last week.
So I'm all patched up. And anyway, so when I woke up that morning, I didn't put on my patches after the shower. I dropped a ceramic dog bowl because I lose strength in my hands. And I also have my spinal cord's leaning on my left inner carotid. It goes this way instead of that way. And so I dropped it. And thank goodness it didn't break. Then my sister was here and she was wanting me to go to some store and get her a sandwich. So I had to go get her the sandwich. And I fell, my left ankle gave out on me and I fell on the concrete, on the cement in the parking lot. And then when I get home, I got to open the door and I lose grip and I fall over again. And I finally called Susan and I said, it's time to put on the patches. I'm not waiting. And I just stuck on the patches. And within minutes, that's what people don't understand. Within minutes, you stop dropping. You know, I had that may not ever be able to be fixed. My spinal cord leaning on my left inner carotid and going left. So I may be one of them that I may have to be on the few of these patches for life because I do not want titanium in my neck. And I tell you what, I much rather this. If I can put a pain patch on, I'm no longer going on palliative care. I have mast cell from being a COVID long hauler. I'm no longer on antihistamines at all. The first time since I've had become a COVID long hauler in 3 years that I have not had since I've had Defend, Liberty, and Flow going all at once. I put others on, but it's the Defend, Liberty, and Flow that are most important. That I do not have to take any mast cell stabilizers. I don't have any tumors popping up. I had a tumor pop up the size of a baby's head from mast cell. You know, I mean, life is beautiful for me. It is beautiful. And if you have my friends here that haven't seen me in a while, they can tell you, oh my gosh, she looks so amazing compared to what she was just a few months ago. You know, I mean,
God bless you. God bless you, Sarah.
I'm a different person, and I thank you, Jay. I thank you.
Thank you for having an open heart and open mind. Thank you for listening. Thank you for using it, and thank you for sharing. And this is what I'll share with everybody on the call today. This is why our personal experience and testimonials are so important, because we don't know who it's going to inspire to try it and their life might change. Because what's the risk? What's the risk to anyone to try this, right? There's a money back guarantee. There's no side effects. There's no active ingredients. It's easy. They have to change their lifestyle. Heck, they don't even need to get out of their bed or their house. Right? They don't have to go anywhere, right? They just got to try it. And the people that are using it, their lives are changing. But we don't know, like Sterling, if I got to get your testimonial on video because people need to hear this, right? And not just the people that we know, it's the people that we don't know. We got to get to them because they're suffering. People are suffering.
I want to cry, and I want to cry out of happiness. I was getting ready to go in palliative care, and Susan came into my life, and I've got my friend Gail, and her son needs help, and I've got my friend Christina Prince. They've got her son with autism locked up in a psych facility, and he should be home with her because he has autism and he needs to be freed, and she can get those patches to him. She can't get vitamins to him, but she can get those patches to him. They locked them away in Sweden. Do you know that? They call it not undiagnosed autism. Christina Prince.
I'm so sorry. to hear that.
She knows a lot of people.
I'm so sorry.
Christina
to hear
knows a
that.
lot of people. We're adding her to our team.
I'm so sorry to hear that. It's not right. So sorry to hear.
Christina's been through a lot.
Let's try to help as many people as we can. Right?
Yeah.
And that's all we can do. That's the fight. That's the fight. The fight is help as many people as we can. And
these are tears of joy.
That's it. You know, sister, and my heart's filled up a lot right now. So this is why I'm gonna not say too much. You're gonna get me to break. That's the promise.
I started crying, tears of joy.
That's the promise, right? This is, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so happy you're getting help, Sterling. It makes everything that I've been through on a personal level over the last 15 years worthwhile. It makes all the challenges worthwhile. It makes all the people that ridicule me and made fun and say, "Oh, this is crazy. You'll never do this." I had neuroscientists tell me to stick to computer coding. Jay, leave the healthcare to us. You don't know what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'll keep going. Thank you. Never mind. Never mind.
Changed my life for the better.
It's a long journey, but we're not done yet. We're not done yet. We're just starting. Guys, we're just starting, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just starting. Yep. We're just starting, right? And it's gonna hit a tipping point real soon where, people say, listen, if you're not wearing a super patch, you're not helping yourself or your family. It's coming to that point because there isn't a family in the world that we can't help with something. Because all they have right now are pills. Everything that they have now is a pill. Take a pill. And when they need more money, they just make more claims for an old pill. They just recycle it. And so this pill also helps with this. It's like, no, it doesn't. Like, they know for a fact that antidepressants don't work on teenage minds, but they insist on giving our children antidepressants. It's not my research. This is published research that antidepressants don't work on adolescent minds. Well, let's give them antidepressants. I'm like, what are you talking about? Why are we even having this conversation? Right? The mental health, the Bible of mental health had 8 conditions 20 years ago. Now it's got 248. What happened? We're just inventing issues so we can sell more pills. Right? There's a big disconnect between people on this call who want to help people in a way that's ethical and that's safe, and the wider healthcare drug world out there. Their business is selling pills. That's the business, right? And we know that, so that's fine. We also have to live in this world, but there's ways to integrate our solutions in a way that they can't stop us. This is why we went through FDA registration. This is why we invest millions and millions of dollars into the R&D and the research, so they can't stop us. I get called, oh, you can't make pain claims. I'm like, oh yeah, I can. Here's my study. My study shows that we help with pain. Oh, you can't make sleep claims. Oh yeah, we can. Here we go. Here's a study that says we can make sleep claims. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, we have to be absolutely in line and compliant, right, about not making claims outside the benefits that are on the packaging. Okay? Because the regulators are going to look for that. They're going to say, oh, by the way, your representative, Susan Clinton, said A, B, C, D, E. And not that I'm just making an example here, right? Susan, not that you would ever do that, but it would be like, and Susan's intention wasn't anything other than to say what happened, but we got to be careful. So listen, so the story is, hey, here's a product. I've been suffering with A, B, C, D, E. I tried this product and this happened. And here's the research that says that, hey, other people have also seen this experience. And that's it, because, we don't need to explain pain to people, right, guys? Pain is a universal tragedy. Anybody suffering from pain knows what it is. right? Going down the rabbit hole of what kind of it doesn't serve a purpose. People that are not sleeping well know they're not sleeping well. Bad sleep and good sleep, they're very empirical things. We don't need to talk about the symptoms or classify it as a certain kind of sleep disorder. Don't need to do that. Hey, you want to get better sleep? Here's a study that shows that people that use this product got better sleep. They fell asleep faster, they slept longer, and they woke up refreshed. You want to try it? It's drug-free, safe. Okay. Hey, you know anybody that's suffering from some kind of pain or aches? Are they looking for any drug-free solutions? Yeah. Well, here's a new product that came out, new technology that came out. It's drug-free pain relief. Here's a study that shows a 72% reduction in pain in under 20 minutes without drugs, non-habit forming, non-drowsy. We can say all those things, right?
Hey, I've got some chat questions that are really good, and I don't mind. Could we someone asked if they have to shave if they have extremely hairy limbs for the pain patch to work, or any other patches?
No, actually, you don't. It depends on, like, you're talking to a hairy guy, so I'm telling you, try to find the least hairy spot, right? This is why I go the forearms. Everywhere else, I'm like Grizzly Adams. So this is why I put them here. You don't have to shave it, but if it's really thick hair, it might prevent it from actually getting to the skin. So just, try that.
I've had questions about pets. I mean, like, do you think you might come out with a pet patch in the future? Are you developing one for dogs?
I understand the passion people have for their dogs and their pets. But right now, all of my energy is dedicated to people for now. We'll get to our furry friends in time, but there's just so much to do right now that I can't get distracted.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's the mission, right? The mission is to help 1 billion people with their quality of life and wellness, right? I've looked at some things. There's some things that are possible, but I just got to prioritize things right now, and that's the priority. Right.
And there was another one, PANS, pediatric acute, onset neuropsychiatric syndrome caused by Lyme disease.
One of my dear friends, Dr. Stephen Wolf, he's a neurosurgeon out of Pennsylvania. His daughter has the same condition. 3 patches, don't take them off. Liberty, defend, flow.
Yep, that's what I thought. Yeah,
don't take them off.
Everyone in the Lyme community needs liberty, flow, and defend.
His daughter hasn't had a seizure. Oh my gosh, can't even tell you how long.
Yeah, and what about autism? Someone mentioned kids with all the symptoms of autism.
Autism, we haven't done a specific study on autism, so it's hard to say, but we've seen anecdotally, we've seen some incredible stories. I don't know the consistent, but liberty, flow, liberty, flow, liberty, flow, liberty, flow, liberty, flow. They don't know what autism is. I mean, this is Jay's opinion. In my opinion, these experts don't know what autism is. Everything they don't understand, they put it in this box. Just like fibromyalgia, when they don't understand what it is, it's fibromyalgia, they put it into a block. So then they don't have to give any solutions now, or the solution is a pill that they have. Autism is very, very complicated. Haven't studied hearing, but flow. So getting back to your question, I would suggest liberty, flow, defend, and go from there. Hearing issues, Gail, I haven't actually studied any hearing issues yet. I haven't looked at it. I don't know. Experiment. Maybe something will happen, right? It's hard to say. I'm
going to try to get him on my dad. He's pretty much 95% deaf, and the issue is, but he's very skeptical. He's a 92, and I don't know. I have to do it in such a way, like if he's complaining about something here, be honest with me and see, like put a liberty and freedom patch on him. I don't know.
Put the liberty and freedom on him. See what happens. I mean, I'm sure he's got some aches and pains at 92. They usually do. So here's a reason.
I had a question. She texted me in private. Do any of the patches help with tendon and joint stiffness?
Well, Again, very specific. Liberty and freedom. The stiffness is probably going to cause some aches and pains. The
The
liberty is going to
liberty,
open.
okay,
Liberty and freedom.
okay. And then I just wanted to, the same Pizio 1 and Pizio 2, that controlled touch also controlled the spiral organ of the corti in the ear. I just, I guess you probably know that, but
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, listen, what they're finding now, what the Pizio 1 and Pizio 2 do, is there's going to be so many amazing development. I mean, even in our own development here, we're going to see just an incredible number of ways that we can help people, combination of different patches, combination of different receptors. And the discovery of the transducers isn't complete yet, right? There's more happening. So let me explain this to you. So, traditionally through nerve conduction assessment, this is how they used to measure neural information going from our skin or, from our peripheral nervous system to our mind. They would see 3 bits of information going into the central nervous system, and then they'd see 8 bits of information coming out of the nervous system. And the thing was, well, how did that make any sense? You can't create energy. Energy just transforms. Where's this additive coming from? And so my theory is there's actually more information going to our nervous system and coming out of our nervous system, like we can measure at this point. That there's other communication waves that we just haven't figured out yet, right? We still don't understand intracellular communication. We have we have theories about intracellular communication, but intracellular communication is a real thing. In 1939, two really smart people, Dr. Rabbit and Dr. Milbourne at University of Columbia, published a paper that proved that every cell was emitting and receiving a signal, a radio signal, that our body was an antenna. So antennas don't work just outward, they also work inwards. That means every cell is broadcasting to its neighbor and every other cell in the body at the same time and receiving information back. That's intracellular communication, right? Are we looking at it? Yeah, absolutely. I'm studying intracellular communication as deeply as I studied the neural code. So we already know what the next 5 years are going to come into, right? And it's going to be absolutely amazing what we're going to be able to do with our technology and the next versions of our technology. So I'm super excited about the future. Really, really excited.